I'm very excited to have you on. You are a woman of many things. One in particular, I must add, we're going to talk about that and get to that shortly. You're now a Tedx speaker.
Yeah.
How incredible is that?
Yeah, it's been a journey getting there, if I'm being honest. And the message, like I was saying earlier, it wasn't something that was on my radar. I just wanted a platform upon which to stand and do some justice to the people that are not heard, be their voice. It's a very emotional TED talk. I'm not sure if you've seen it yet, but I guess it comes a bit of a incredible, but it does come from my heart, and it needed to be said. A lot of things people don't want to hear because it makes them feel uncomfortable, but this is real life and people are going through these things. So it's of importance, you know, that we face these things and try and help one another to change these injustices that are still happening all around the world.
Definitely. I'm going to pull back a bit because it is incredible. I did see it. I got very emotional. And no one actually knows unless they've experienced it. A lot of people hear things and they have an opinion. But I just wanted to just come back a bit and let's talk about the journey to where you are now. How did it all start? You're involved in so many different things. You're an activist for obvious reasons. You're an author, a life coach. What was the journey or the impetus that happened for you to be where you are now?
So I have to admit, I've always spoken out about the injustices that happened to me with regards to the honour killing. I didn't share very much of my childhood with my children, but they did hear that one thing, and I did say that it still happens and it's very wrong. So I'm born and raised in the United Kingdom, if the accent hasn't given it away. A lot of people always ask me, did this happen in India? Did it happen abroad? But this all happened within the United Kingdom, and that's part of the awareness that needs to be raised, that it happens everywhere around the world. So my parentage, my ethnicity is Indian, and I was born into a family that didn't want a daughter, primarily because in our culture, girls are not wanted, and boys are preferred. Some families kill their daughters at birth. In the United Kingdom, when I was born, they were putting them into plastic bags and suffocating them and burying them and not reporting or registering the birth. So a lot of people didn't even know that they had been pregnant. Abortions weren't an option then. Now people do it in a totally different way, where they get a scan done. If they know it's a girl, they will just abort the baby. But it's still happening. I know people personally that have done this several times until they get pregnant with a boy. So it's not going away. It's something that's still there, which is why I feel I have to speak out about it. But for myself, my personal journey, I wasn't really considered a person growing up. That sounds odd, but the reason I say I wasn't considered a person, I was treated very deliberately in a way that I didn't deserve anything. So my job was to serve my parents, to cook for them, to clean for them. I remember having a blue crate that I used to turn upside down and stand upon to cook. I did all of the cooking from the age of 6. I thought I was very clever because, you know, I would find ways of making things quickly and doing things, and very, very interested because that was my form of love. I was loving my family. And I felt that feeding, I'm a feeder still, but I felt that feeding the family meant that I was part of the family and that I was actually visible for the first time, you know, whereas a lot of the time I was sent to my room, I would sit with my ear literally leaning on the door, and I would just listen. I would listen to everybody moving around. I would close my eyes literally and pretend, oh, that's so-and-so going up the stairs. Oh, I can hear the television. And I was happy. I was very, very happy because that's all I knew. So that was my childhood up to the age of 14.
Wow. So it wasn't forced in that respect, but you then realized as you got older that this wasn't normal. There was something quite odd about this experience. And at what point did you realize this was not something you wanted to go through any longer?
Yeah. You see, when I was young and I was growing up, I would go to school, and I lived in a very white British dominated area. So there was only myself and my brother and one other Asian there. So I didn't know really anything else but all I knew, because I had no one to really compare it. I didn't have anybody else of colour like myself that I could say, what's happening with you at home? And it wasn't something we talk about. We're taught not to speak about anything that happens within the house outside. It is, it's not something that you're allowed to do. So when I got to 14, I unfortunately was cooking for my parents. My father, he'd come back from the pub very late at night with several of his friends, which he did a lot. He did that a lot. You know, they would go off and one person would go and 10 would come back. It was the common thing. But I was the one that would be woken up because my mum didn't want to do it. So I would cook for everybody. So it wasn't the first time I'd done it. I'd done it many a time. But the only thing about my father was he was very meticulous about having everything put away so they could carry on drinking. So the dishes needed to be taken away. And I would be sitting there from, as I said, the age of 7 or 8, I can remember friends coming with the tray ready to go in and collect everything and take it away. One night when I came down, I was particularly tired, and I think I was starting to go through, you know, the change, growing up, the puberty sort of stage. So emotions, hormones were all over the place anyway in themselves. And when I came down to clear the dishes, I sat on the stairs. I can remember it very clearly, looking down at my feet, thinking, oh, I wonder if I can go to bed soon, you know, almost talking to myself. And then I heard the call, because they used to shout my name, or they'd shout witch. My father was adamant that I was a witch, that I'd brought upon the family a demonic sort of presence, that I was bringing bad luck upon them because I was born a girl. And a child of 14 or 6 doesn't know what they're doing. They are led to do what their parents teach them. So there's no chance of that being a reality. But this particular night, they grabbed me and I closed my eyes really tightly, thinking I would numb some of what was happening away. But my hearing was so acute, I knew which person was grabbing me first and doing what they were doing, because I knew each person from the sound, because I'd never had the interaction with them. So there was no escape really of knowing that it was my father that grabbed me first. And they repetitively raped me until I passed out. I was beaten as well as raped, and they left me there for dead. That was the first time I realised that this doesn't feel right. This isn't how it should be. And no. I got into a situation where one of them impregnated me, and it led to an abortion. And my father told me that I'd ruined my own life, that nobody would want me, and he would have to do a trade with one of the men, that I could go into their house and be married to one of their sons, because otherwise, you know, it was a shame that I'd brought upon myself. And at 14, I was really confused, and I did question what I had done. But I was sure it was me, because I'm led to believe that. And all I knew is that at 14, I was being told I'd had this abortion and come home, and I'm being told I'm going to be sent to one of the people that had raped me, who had stayed behind when others had left so he could do it again and again. And I didn't want to go there. I really did not want to go there. And my heart sank, and I took some paracetamol. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I finished whatever there was, and I fell asleep. And I actually think I just fell asleep. I don't think I'd taken enough to actually do any damage, but my parents called me to make the food. I didn't respond. And they dragged me downstairs, made me sick, you know, forced me to be sick, and beat me, kicking me in my stomach until I passed out again. So that time when I came around and I woke up, I had sickle stuck to my hair, and everything ached because I had had this pregnancy. Even though it was a short one, you still are going through the hormonal changes and the physical changes as a young child. And I just wanted to die, and that was the first time I actually wanted to die. I'm not ashamed to admit it, because that's how I felt at that moment, and only I knew how I felt. You know, people can't judge, there's no judgment. And at that time I just didn't see anything worth living for. I was soon to be married to a family where I knew the boy I was marrying me under false pretenses, and that I would be a sex slave to somebody that had raped me. So I didn't want to be there.
Ooh, I know the story, but hearing it from you is really powerful, and I just can't understand how someone that is your flesh and blood can even rationalize, it's sickening. And I've read the articles, I've seen things, I've watched documentaries, but when you hear it from yourself, it's, and to see how composed and together you are after what you've gone through, it's amazing.
I will say one thing. I will say that we don't need to know why they do these things. People look for closure, they look for answers. There are no answers that we will ever receive to take away the pain, the realization of what they've done. All we need to understand is that they've done whatever they've done because they thought it was acceptable, but we know it's not acceptable, which is why I speak out now. But I'll never get the answers to why I wasn't loved as a child. The fact that I was born a girl, it's not a good enough reason, but I can either hold on to that, or I can say, okay, I understand that they've done what they did in their capacity as parents. I don't hold any hard feelings or hatred. I never will. And I love them more because I feel they need that love. They need that compassion because they were unable to love me for how I deserved to be loved. And I deserve to be loved now, and I did deserve to be loved then, as does every other girl that's born into an Asian or African or Middle Eastern family. They deserve as much love, if not more, than the boys, because the whole point of being a parent is to protect your child.
Of course. No, I'm just inspired. I'm sure, I know Diana Francis, who's watching, said, wow, that's a lot. And it is. And what's even more incredible is how you are forgiving and how you are composed and how you have empathy for somebody that hurt you. That takes a lot. I'm sure a lot of people listening wouldn't maybe feel like that because, how can somebody do that? But what I've been so inspired by listening to your story, watching your TEDx, is that you managed to transfer that pain into positivity, into growth, into helping others, into empowering other people that could have gone through that experience, or knowing their environment that to look out for the signs to protect them. And I think that's commendable to you.
No, thank you so much, Renee. But everyone listening and yourself will know that you go through things yourself that help you to grow. And I've not got a real education. My son said to me, "Don't even have a degree." I don't have a degree. I wasn't allowed to study to a certain point. But I do have this lesson of life that I've lived through, and I wouldn't change it because I wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be the person that I love so much now, that can look at a little girl that's been raped and not have judgment and not have any sort of ill feeling, to be able to love the most unlovable people. I wouldn't be me if they hadn't done the things they've done to me. I wouldn't be this voice for all of the Ninas out there that need love and need help to get out of the situation they're still living in. So I don't shy away from my purpose, my journey, because whether you believe in God or the higher being or this existence, I know that, as I keep saying, I've said it before, but life is literally the game of life. I've learned along the way. I've found the cheat codes, and I accept and feel gifted to have the emotional intelligence and the ability to help others from the lessons that have been given to me. It's hard.
No, definitely. One of the ladies, Diana, said, you don't need to have one, darling. You once have the experience. That's all degree in itself. So basically what you just said, your life has been your experience, and it is hard. You think, some things are here to test you. We've all gone through various different trials and tribulations, and how do you get through it and what do you learn from it is really important. And it shapes me, as you said. I wouldn't be who I was if I didn't go through, what you went through. It was horrific, but you're still standing strong. You're able to help others. Things have grown in your life because of the growth that you've had and the experiences and the development that's within of you, that you said, I've gone through this, but I'm not going to sit and be a victim. I'm actually going to help and inspire. And it's incredible. And what I'm really excited about to move into a different space is what you're doing on this space. I mean, talk to me about how you're helping. What does it look like? Do you go to schools? How do you find what's the indicators of these type of horrible, hideous crimes?
I'm only starting this part of my journey, if I'm being honest, because it is such a horrific story. And later on, you know, I ended up meeting somebody. The term frying pan to fire comes to mind, but when you're not aware of your own energy that you're giving out, you do attract that kind of energy. If you think you have no worth, then you're going to attract someone who will take advantage of that. But again, the positives of that is I can help somebody else who's going through horrific domestic violence, and I have 3 amazing children that I would never have had otherwise. So they are
beautiful.
They are my amazing stars, that I call them. But now I'm very much an activist, and I didn't ever think I would say that as a child, that I want to, but I am. I speak out as much as I can about honour killings. My direction is very clear. My intentions are very set. I am attracting exactly what I want to achieve. So I want to get to United Nations to change laws, to speak to the people in the Middle East, as I say in my speech, for them to understand that this has to stop, because it's almost like an underground agreed behaviour, and people know about it but they don't want to get their hands dirty, so that it's ignored. And that's where I'm trying to get right into the places that I can make a difference. I want to get to Parliament as well in the United Kingdom and all over the world. I want to create a movement, because I know that I'm only one person, but hopefully other people will come to me. I get a lot of messages on my Instagram at the minute saying I'm in a similar situation, I'm having a forced marriage, or there's 3 days left, and my heart sinks because I know that that is how I felt at one point. I try and give a lot of free advice and help, but there's only so much I can do. So my daughter and I have created something called endhonourkillings.org, which I'm turning into a charity, and that will hopefully at some point create safe places for these people to go to, and a system to take them away from where they are, because you feel very alone and in solitude, and nobody understands. That's what everybody else says. No one gets it. No one understands. You know, when I used to say to my in my old relationship, people would take their children out for the day and they would get together, like mums and children get together in little groups, and I'd say, well, I can't do it because my partner was so narcissistic, he would not allow me to go. People would say, I don't understand. You never understand. Someone brings that awareness to you and brings that to your attention, which is what I'm trying to do. One of the other things I'm hugely passionate about is I'm creating a team at the minute. So when I'm on Clubhouse or on Instagram, I'm looking for like-minded people. I picked my youngest, my middle son, my second born child, from university the other day, and I was bringing boxes and boxes home. He's 23 and he studies in Leeds, and I'm sort of around the corner, but I went to pick him up, and he, you know, was telling me that one of the girls had been found dead in her room. She'd hung herself. And two of my children suffer from mental health because of the abuse they've seen, which is understandable. It's going to affect them. And if you're a mum out there thinking, I'll leave when the kids get older, don't leave now. Please find that strength for them. That's the only advice I would have given maybe myself when I was in a relationship. But I want to create this movement whereby I go to universities and schools, as you mentioned, to talk to them about, make it a compulsory class that they have to take at the age of 15 or 16, and then at university, to say, it's hard asking for help. It's hard reaching out and saying to people, I'm struggling, because the universe that's been created for us, this programming has told us there's a taboo, it's weak, but there's nothing actually weak about it. Feelings matter. Feelings are valid, however you feel. And another thing I'm unhappy about is people are telling other people how to feel. I can't tell you how to feel. You can't tell me how to feel, but you can listen to me and I can listen to you. Maybe we will resonate with one another and say, actually, I get how Nina feels because I felt like that when this happened to me, but it's not the same, but I do get it. And I would love to create this other movement on a separate entity to go to all the universities, not in this country, everywhere. This needs to happen all around the world, for them to go into universities and schools and speak to the children and say to them, you're not alone. because I've done it with my son. I have spoken at him, to him, but never actually listened to him. And a lot of the time, children are trying to get you to listen to them, and we're too busy trying to do something. I was homeless. I'd found a place to stay. Oh, I need to get you a bed. Oh, I need to get you a mattress. And all he wanted was to say, I need help. I'm struggling.
That's right.
But I wasn't listening. So if I can help another parent not go through the anguish of knowing whether their child's going to run away or commit suicide, then I'm that person too, because they are our future. And whilst I'm helping them, I can also give them this message of self-importance. It's not selfish to feel important. It's not selfish to say, do you know what? I deserve the best kind of love. I deserve the best kind of job. I deserve the best kind of living, because I deserve that. People say it's arrogance. There's nothing arrogant about knowing what you deserve.
No, it isn't. And love, as you said, wow, you said some amazing, love starts with you. A lot of people, there's someone that said problem shared, problem aired, and that's correct. You got to love yourself. But it is hard if your surroundings and your environment and your upbringing is not being fueled and feeding that love into you. But when you start to be aware that whatever it was happening was negative, you can start telling yourself affirmations and being around people and doing your best. And it's not easy. Like anything, when you've gone through any trauma, because that's what it is, it takes time. And I'm pretty sure, even though you are positive and you are moving on the right direction and all the things you're doing, things must still happen where you reflect. It takes time. And the heart is a muscle that needs to be softened and protected and healed. And I'm sure healing is helping heal others, and watching people heal makes you feel better. You can see that you've actually saved or been able to be, there's nothing more amazing than when you can recognize something. You know, people recognize relationships, or don't go down that road because that's going to happen. You can see it before it's actually going to happen. So you can stop and break that chain. You know, when we speak about that, it is universal. We don't realize how blessed we are to be able to do what we can in the UK, the rights that we do have. We don't have no idea. You know, when I think of the Middle East, I've done things within the Middle East, and you see how they just can't speak, think, let alone. And we have a voice, and we don't realize how powerful that is. And because we have that voice, we have to speak on their behalf, like what you're doing.
I just want to sort of say very quickly, sorry, I do apologize for interrupting, but
no problem at all.
When you're healing, I've said this many a time on Clubhouse and various places, when you're healing, it's really a horrible place to be. It's almost like a whirlwind of emotions fighting with themselves. You're having several conversations in your own mind about why, who, and again, as I was saying, you're looking for those answers. I do love myself. I love myself to the point where I don't want to change anything about myself. I love everything. And the reason I love myself is, a couple of years ago, I almost had a moment where I found who I really was. And I understood that everything that had been taught to me was everyone else's opinion. And you've heard this before, you've read it somewhere, but to actually understand that whatever anyone has ever told you about you isn't you, it's what they see. Right. And only what you are. And all of this makeup and hair, none of it matters. And you can spend as much time in the mornings of doing your hair and makeup, and if you're feeling that you're not the person inside that you want to be, if you're not accepting that person, then it doesn't matter how much weight you lose or how much time you spend in the gym or how you do your hair, you're never going to actually love yourself. And when I realized that I've been good, I've never lied, I've never hurt anyone, life forced me to be this really good girl, this really good teenager, this really good woman, this forgiving character. I said to myself, do you know what? This game of life that I've been living, I've been winning. I've been winning, and I've had all of those cheat codes right in front of me. The only thing I've never done is believed in me. And I'm going to start. And that's when it all changed, and you become this magnet, and you're putting in the work, but things are falling into place. And suddenly I'm on TED Talk. Suddenly I've done this and I've done that. And people are contacting me that can see your value because you're seeing your value. And I don't want to be anybody, not anyone, apart from myself. Somebody interviewed me the other day and said, well, who do you look up to? Who are your heroes or heroine? And I said, the people that stand in front of the queue and say, you can go first because there's somebody behind them that's slightly older than them or has one or two items. The people that stop when you're crossing the road and it's raining and they think, let her go by, or they decide to let you go through and you've been waiting in traffic. That person, when you've dropped something, comes running after you and say, hey, you've left your card, or you've dropped your handbag or something. That person that asks you, how are you, in the shops, or smiles at you, that magic of a smile, having maybe a bad day and you're walking and someone just smiles and you think, hey, I feel good because someone shared their smile with me. They are my heroes. They are the people that I admire and respect, because that's who I want to be too. I want to be that good person, giving that good energy to somebody else and making a difference.
I love that. It's just, yeah, it's everybody, because it's right. You have very, you know, the big icons and public figures, but you're right. Your everyday experience can make you and shape you. And there's nothing more powerful than when you walk down the road and someone's laughing and having a good smile, and it's infectious, isn't it? Rubs off and it makes you feel good. And you can give something to someone, or they can give something to you. And this season, a lot of people, they've been like angels, you know, the NHS, what they've had to do, people that have been caring, just looking out for each other. And I've always said, yes, we are coming out, but we don't want to lose that, because that's been phenomenal, because people have not really studied what's going on around them, just been so busy with what they're doing. But now you've had to stop because you had no choice. And it makes you, you know, it makes you be reflective on what you are, what you give out to the world, and what's being received in. Really exciting. And so you're an activist, and I understand, and I know you're doing amazing things, but you're also helping kids in Africa, or African education. So talk to me about that.
So I'm a member of a committee, and we actually trying to find, well, we're trying to organise affordable housing all around the world. It's a project I'm working on, but one of the people in there asked me to be the European person for his. It's called DE Africa, and it's just about educating Africans wherever they are. In Africa, a lot of the children can't get to school, so it's an online schooling program. But I sort of said, well, why does it have to stop in Africa? Why can't we educate children all around the world that want to learn, that can't work or cannot get there because they're having to work or look after their brother, sister? You know, they might not be able to do higher education because their parents don't believe in the system. And it's not always having that educational accolade. It's sometimes just having that knowledge, just learning how basic things like maths and English that would help you in the future. I'm not a great advocate of education myself, because I know that you can be successful wherever you are, but if it matters and it keeps them mentally active and away from straying and doing other things, then it's something that I'm very passionate about. So that's one of the things I am involved with. So I work with a lovely chap, and there's another place in Kenya that we just sent a lot of old laptops to. There's a school there that we're helping with. So yeah, that's basically my role. So I get people enrolled onto this course which he runs in Africa, 'cause the world, as you said, is a small place now with the internet and the way things are with Zoom. I don't know what we would have done without Zooms and things.
I know, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? How did they know something we didn't, is the question. It makes you, you know, such an organization now, everyone's Zoom in, Teams. It's incredible.
So that's it. So I'm just bringing some education to the kids that actually want to learn, and it's nice to be able to do that for them.
Yeah, and it's a good segue, because obviously now you're also a life coach, and I totally understand, because as they say, experience gives experience. And how has that come about, other than obviously experiences you've had? What do you do in that capacity?
So it started when I was homeless and I was visiting my daughter, she lived near London Bridge at the time, and said, look, please come and stay with me at least one weekend. The reason I couldn't stay with her was because her father knew where she lived, and it was very dangerous for me to be there. But on this occasion, my son had gone to a friend's, and I came over to stay at hers for the weekend. She was always trying to get me out because I wasn't used to going out. You see, I'm almost like a teenager living in a 51-year-old body. I haven't been to Starbucks, I haven't done a lot of things. So we went for a walk around London and bumped into some UFC fighters who just connected with me straight away. I didn't know who they were. My son actually is also a fighter, so he was telling me, oh, that's so and so, because he was sending Snapchats and pictures. They sat me down and we spoke in a bar, and I actually really got where they were coming from. I really understood where they were coming from, because both my boys played for a football academy, a Premier League football academy before left and things. So I understood the process that you go through when you're strict, have a strict regime, and you can be dropped at any point, and that not knowing whether you're going to make it, and then you put in all that hard work, and then it's almost like, well, I'm here now, what do I do? And we were just talking, and I was just talking, and one of the ladies asked me if I would do some coaching with her. She said that I had a very positive aura and she would love, and at that time I was homeless, as I said, so I needed money. So I definitely took that on, and I coached her for quite a while. And then a BBC Radio 1 DJ I bumped into again in a bar with my daughter. It must be my daughter and when we're at. And then he asked me if I could help him with a family matter, which I did. And he, again, suggested me to somebody else. And it went on from there. But then when the pandemic happened, it did affect things because people like to meet me. They didn't want to do it over the phone. It's not such a person. I understand. But I seem to attract elite people that have, because they are like us, we're all one really, and they struggle with the same things we struggle with. They've all had a starting point from which they have built upon. And I think one of my biggest things is I actually listen, whereas a lot of people won't. And there's so many people out there calling themselves life coaches saying, well, what's wrong with you? You know, you've got to shake this off because it's time to move on now. And that's not motivational. It's not inspirational. It's not caring. And I'm not telling people how to do the job. It's the last thing I would do. But I'm just saying that if you want a maths tutor because your child's struggling at school, you look for somebody that you connect with, that your child connects with, because that will get the best out of that person. And maybe my energy resonates with a type of person. I'm not sure. Maybe it's because I don't know who anybody is as well, and I'm not judgmental. For me, human is human, and I go on energy. You can feel somebody's energy because we have that. That's what we are, isn't it? And that's right. You either repel being around someone you feel uncomfortable. If you've ever travelled and you're on a train or a plane and someone sits next to you and you think, oh, or you think, oh, I want to speak to that person. You say hi, you know, and that comes from within. That feeling comes from within. So I've just been really lucky, and I'm hoping to take that back up when I can travel. A couple of people I am really concerned about because I care about their welfare.
I feel that from you. I know it's only electronic, but I can feel that you just really want to take time to help people, because that's what it is. As you said, listening is one of the biggest skills anyone can have, and people think they listen, but most people don't. They speak, but they don't listen. And people need to feel heard. One of the things when they're going through anything, whatever it may be, they want someone to vent to, and maybe not even have an opinion, just listen. And then when they're ready, you can say, well, try this, or have you suggested that? And I think that's a skill in itself, for somebody to really feel that somebody understands them. And your experiences has enabled you to be able to do that, because I'm really a strong believer that you have to walk the walk to be able to talk the talk. It's very easy for someone to say, oh, you should have done this or try that. But if you've not experienced it, what really can you give to somebody? Not to say you can't help, but it's more powerful when somebody's walked that experience as opposed to just having an opinion. You can feel them more.
Yeah. And it matters, you know, it matters to them. That's why they're saying it. So if someone ever comes out to anyone who's listening or watching this later and says, oh, you know, I stubbed my toe, don't say, oh, I did that last week, don't get over it. You know, just let them say it. It matters to them. So especially with children, it really matters. They say things because it matters. And we just need to let them be. We need to let them have that space.
Amazing. You've had, you know, I call it achievements, and one of them is definitely the TEDx. I was so excited. I remember you telling me you was preparing for it. What happened? How did that happen? I have an idea how it happened because I know the network, but what was the experience like? What was the preparation? It's incredible. It's like game-changing, isn't it, to do anything of that nature? Talk me through that.
Yeah, sure. So a lot of people, as I said, have it on their bucket list. It wasn't on my bucket list. Last year, I was chosen to speak in America, and I was the first person in this country ever to be chosen for this particular platform. The platform's a really big one, but unfortunately, the gentleman running the program was being inappropriate, and I didn't want to put myself in a position whereby I, for the sake of this huge message that's so important to me, put myself in a position where integrity was questioned. I have very old values and I stand by them because that's who I am. So I decided I wouldn't do it. And everybody said, oh God, you know, can't you go with somebody? It's really a shame. But then COVID stopped me traveling anyway. And I just knew it was a sign. And I felt a couple of minutes of disappointment, but I also have this great belief that things happen for a reason and something bigger and better will come. I was on Clubhouse on and off all the time anyway. If you don't know what Clubhouse is, it's an app, social media app where you can go into different rooms and talk or listen. It's really your choice. But I only go in there with intention because I value my time. And I'd gone into a couple of rooms where public speaking was being discussed. I blurted out my story in a very inappropriate, probably manner, which shocked everybody, and came out of it saying, thanks so much for listening, bye, and left. And then as time went on, I started to craft my story by listening and learning how others spoke about it. And I just took my time. And over time, one particular person had connected with me. He heard me say it the second time in a different way and asked me for a Zoom call. We became friends foremost, and I will always respect Gary. I'm going to say his name, Gary, because
yeah, of course.
Gary of Think Network, a lot of people feel uncomfortable being around me because of my story. They feel almost uncomfortable to the point where they want me to shrink myself to fit in,
really,
so that they don't feel uncomfortable. And I refuse to do that. I've done it all my life. I refuse to do that, and nobody should have to do that. Nobody should have to shrink themselves. So
no.
He allowed me to express my story. He was very emotional. I know when he came off the Zoom call, he had to go away and just be on his own for a little while to take in all the horrendous things that had happened. But he later on made me an ambassador for Think Network, which is Europe's largest platform for empowerment, which you are part of as well. I'm happy to
I am. I'm honoured. Yeah, wow. Gary is amazing. He reached out. I saw him on another panel, and I'm going to have him on a live. We're going to do a Who Am I talk. But it's about time. Bless him. He's incredible. He just oozes positivity and growth and determination, everything in between.
Definitely. He allowed me to be this advocate for global diversity, and I said, oh, when I write my articles, can I write about honour killing? Can I write about arranged marriages? And he said, Nina, you can do whatever you feel like that's coming from you. Your message is now going to be allowed and you can have it globally. And I was ecstatic. I think I cried probably with tears, happy tears. And it was just the fact he believed in my mission. He really believed in my message. And that gave me confidence. When one person does that, it changes everything. And I went on then to I asked a couple of people about being on a TED talk, and someone in Sao Paulo said, I would love for you to speak about domestic violence. It's really big over here. I would love to put your take on it. Again, I couldn't travel. And then Gary interviewed me for Think Network one day, and later on that day came back and said, I want you to do a TED talk. Would you consider traveling to Ireland to deliver a TED talk? And he said, Nina, there'll be 30, TED has an audience of 30 million. And I instantly said yes, because I wanted a platform. As I said, it's never about me. And I do understand if you've got it on your bucket list, you should do it. You should most definitely do it. But for me, it wasn't about that. I'm sure you've picked up, Renee, I don't really have much of an ego, and I don't want one either. But for me, it was more about that message that was going to finally get out into the world, that not even my story, but like I said before, there are 1,000 Ninas out there that want to be recognized. There are 1,000 Ninas that have died, that have been killed. And there's my sister as well, that I don't know where she is, if she's been killed, which I'm guessing she has. If not, she's 12. She's either been trafficked into slavery or human trafficking, or commonly where she's been left, because I work with a couple of human trafficking organizations, that particular place sells body parts, organs. So she's been raised and allowed to live just so they can do that. And it breaks my heart. So how can someone like me stay quiet? How can I stay?
No, you can't.
So that talk for me, if you have watched it, please watch it. It's emotional, but understand it's coming from here. It's coming from a huge place of frustration, love, desire to help others, and I've survived and so many haven't. So that message is hard to watch, I accept, but it was something that I needed to do to try and get to the end result of making a change.
And you know, change is uncomfortable, isn't it? Real growth is uncomfortable. It stretches you, it bends you. And all the things that are going on in the world, you know, they call it the big reset at the moment. And I really believe something needed to stop. But then with that stopping, because I know about human trafficking through things I do outside of this, underground it goes further. So this is even more dangerous. People don't realize the fact that we was underground and went quiet and locked down, domestic violence shot up, things like honor killing shot up, everything was allowed to be hidden. And that's the most frustrating part of it, the reset to create love, but then the reset which caused a lot of pain in households. And a lot of people don't know, excuse me, the signs, what to look for when somebody is scared. I know some of them, human trafficking. Example, keep an eye when you're getting your car washed. Keep an eye when you're getting your nails done. Sometimes they're not there because they want to be. There's loads of places and things around us that we might not realize they're actually being trafficked, and they're doing it under duress. So people need to be aware of that, and they need to speak or follow that spirit within that tells you something doesn't sit right. Something's not right.
You're so 100% completely right, and I love you so much more for saying that, because one of the things I say right at the end of the speech is that you're either part of the solution or part of the problem, and people don't want to get involved, but literally you don't need to be involved. You can make a discreet call instead of ignoring a situation and tutting and saying poor girl or poor her, you know, do something. You know, please, I say in my talk, honor my story, honor the fact that I've gone through all of this and I was left for dead. You know, it's quite graphic in respects to, I still will never get rid, even though I've forgiven and I've moved on, some images I can't get out of my head. And that same carpet, you know, was the same carpet that I lay on where the blood dripped right across my face, and I describe it as the warmth of my blood. But I was cold with fear, and the blood, it turned into a little twirly design. It's amazing the things you remember. And I actually thought, I might die now. This is it now. I probably will die. But I was never scared of death because I've encountered it so many times. The rape, the abortion, when I was beaten, you know, those times I really thought this is it. So I'd been on the brink of death so many times. I just started to embrace it almost and say, that's fine. If it's meant to be, it will be. But I don't think I'm going to die, because I knew I wasn't supposed to die. And that's how I did.
You're here for it. Yeah. You're here for an incredible purpose. You know, I'm a woman of faith, and them removing you couldn't change the world the way you're about to. And that's how powerful it is. It gets me emotional thinking about it. You was at the brink, but you wasn't taken out. And you've got so much more to do. And the world and the lives that you're going to inspire and change will be the legacy of you. And that's more powerful than anything when I think about it. Why we're here is the question, isn't it? A lot of us ask that. A lot of people were asking that question in this season. It made us stop and think. If you weren't thinking and stopping, well, something's odd. But most people stopped and thought, what is my purpose? Who do I love? Who do I not love? Why am I not in love? How can I find love? All the different things that were encompassing and around us. But what happened with you, as horrific, as traumatic as it is, and not to be flippant about it, because your life is more precious than anything. But what you are about to do and how many lives you're about to change is why you're still here. And that's what I feel about you.
I want to say something, Renee. I've only met you once in a team meeting that we had a mutual person that we know, and we were in a meeting discussing, again, trying to improve other people's lives. You are one of the most precious people that I've met, because you reach out to support me. You've reached out to support me, and I'm sure many other people. You don't have any sort of hierarchy that you are above anybody, and you're very acclaimed and you've achieved a hell of a lot, and I respect you for that because you've worked for it. It hasn't just come to you. But you are such a giving, loving person that you want everyone to win. You know, you are almost a sister to me, and I don't know you, as I said, but I want the audience to hear this, because you have to call it out, and you do everything for everyone else, and I want to do this for you by saying that I value you here. I value you here, and I have a lot of people. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you. Wow. I'm getting all emotional. Thank you. I'm very grateful. You've got to, as I said, why are you here? And it's got to be bigger than you. You know, you hear the songs. What's the purpose? You can't be here just for yourself. And if you have been given the platform that I have, and I'm really grateful for, you've been given a talent, what are you doing with it is important. And I have to sometimes stop and reflect and think, okay, what is the purpose behind everything that you're doing? Working with brands, brilliant. As you might know, even in the pandemic, I had a song, I did all the campaign, there's a lot of work that went behind it, and it paused everything. I could have very easily, and I'm not singing my trumpet, said, I don't care, let me just keep focused. But I said, no, let's reset and let's use what I have and see who I can get on the platform. No, no, I wasn't charging anybody. Everyone was coming on and just sharing their story. And hopefully throughout, and even after your story, people will get something from it. I hope people listening, and when it's put on the platform and saved, that some lady is going through something and thinks, I'm not doing it anymore. Yeah. To me, that's more powerful than any single, any tour, because what did you leave behind? And the biggest people have left something or gave something. You know, that's how I feel.
Yeah, definitely. It's a gift and it's a service. And I really like and love myself for having found this this purpose that and yes, you said earlier, you know, in the conversation, you get a self-satisfaction that you've helped somebody. It gives you a good feeling, and there's a reason for that. You know, have we ever asked ourselves, why do we feel good? Because that we were born to love one another. We were not born to own one another or have a right over one another, or to be able to implement restrictions and take away the basic rights from one another. We were actually put on this earth to give love and receive love. And I want to see more of that.
Yeah, and you're going to, and you're giving it as we speak. And there's still another, as I say, Bose, an author. Talk to me about that. How exciting.
So in the pandemic, I had always said my childhood, the only friends I had were books. I would take home from school books and books and books and books, and I would sleep on books, and I would talk to books. I'd do the Jenga thing with books, you know. I loved reading, and I love the love stories the most, you know. I love Gary and his wife and their little love story. My friend Matt and Monique, their love story. I love it. But I wanted to write, and I wanted to write my story. But before that, because of the pandemic and the coronavirus taking away people's livelihoods and their whole essence and zest to want to live, having been homeless not that long ago and having to restart my whole career again in my life, I realized that I had so much knowledge that I could actually put down to enable somebody else to live the life of their dreams, which is, it's called Your Life, Live the Life of Your Dreams. So there's sections in it on money and literally how to make money, because I wish somebody had told me that. I'm 51 years old, I have a lot of experience. And
oh wow,
somebody had told me these things, but I put it all down of the mistakes I made and how you can do things and how to value again yourself and your time. If you want to charge £100 now, you do that because you know that you will get that if you believe in it, if you believe you're worth it. And then I did a section on family because I feel I have enough experience about your own family, about living with the difficult family members that you don't get on with, that you can love them from afar, and how to accommodate situations in the current pandemic with family. Also, I did about love and relationships, which might sound odd because I've never really had a relationship with anybody, but I know enough because of my work and because I've always been that person everyone's turned to say, I don't get this. And I've also, from the outside, everything is clear because you're not emotionally attached. So I've been able to put down how to make things work and when to know things are not going to work, because I am a direct person. I'd rather be that than waste somebody's time. And then I've put a section on health. All of my family are very health conscious.
That's good.
Think about juicing and really got into that myself. I became a vegetarian a couple of years ago, and then, you know, I felt the benefits of that. So I've put what I know, because somebody might not know what I know, but I feel, again, value. And then the last section is coping with COVID, and it covers with the what ifs and what we're told and what the other things that we haven't been told. But it's not to influence anyone, it's just to give them that understanding that it's out there. And yeah, I'm really happy. I had a publisher, and I'll be honest, I finished the book in December. He didn't do anything with it. I had a bit of an issue, so I took it away and I did it myself, because at the end of the day, you can do these things yourself nowadays. And I've just had it published. It came out the day before my TED talk was released. So
oh wow, that's amazing! Congratulations.
I cried.
And where can the audience get the book? I'll do swipe ups to it. Have you got it here?
It's called.
Wow.
I'm really proud.
That's amazing.
Actually. And at the end of each section, I do affirmations, because I do believe in affirmations. So we have the affirmations, and then one of my quotes, because I like to write quotes too. I just want to say affirmations. I do them every day, barefoot, with my real mother, Mother Nature, and I almost am like a mobile phone. I'm recharging my energy. And I'd love for people to try and explore that, because there's a calmness that you feel. And a lot of people describe me as calm, and I am calm because I found this beauty within the simplest of things, like daisies in my back garden, or there's more grass growing on one side and I like to rub my feet in there sometimes. But the energy that I'm getting, and it's been scientifically proved about grounding, but whilst I stand there and remember, I'm at this point now where I don't care what anybody thinks about me, because I love myself so much. I stand in my garden, my neighbours are probably watching, it doesn't matter, and I have my hands out wide and I say, I am love, and I receive love. And I say things like, I'm a money magnet. And when I say I'm a money magnet, I want to explain that's not just for me, it's for all of you too. Because if I go into a shop that has no queue in front of it, and I go into that shop, people follow me for that shopkeeper to do better than he was doing. So I'm bringing money to him as a magnet. I'm bringing money to the people that I'm helping. I'm bringing money to you and everyone else that's listening. So when you say these affirmations, you have to be very clear and concise. If you say, I want to do a TED talk, you have to say, I want to do a TED talk by July 2021. I want to meet the man of my dreams, if I was to say that. I'm not saying that.
And you are beautiful. So I will say this as an affirmation. I want Nina to meet the man of her dreams. Everything he will be what you desire. So I've told it. Said it to the universe, and it will happen. Just let me know when it does. You deserve that. You absolutely do. You've got so much love to give. So much.